Hello, ladies and gentlemen, live on this Facebook Live, okay, this Tuesday. We are very fortunate to have from the Sahara office, Mr. Jeff Stafford. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you.
As you can hear, the studio audience goes ballistic for you. They love you. There you go. All right, so tell them a little about yourself, how long you've been in this business, all that good stuff, my man.
Well, I am kind of a Las Vegas native. Grew up here, elementary, middle, high school. After graduating high school, went to college in Reno, where I met my lovely wife, Kelly, who also grew up here, but we didn't know each other in Las Vegas.
Wow.
And then after graduating college, took a corporate job in San Francisco. Decided that I missed my family in Las Vegas, being parents, grandparents, siblings, and we had kids that I wanted to get to know them. So we had an opportunity to move back in 1995 and have been here ever since. My mother was a realtor here since 1977, always hounded me to get in the business, and I always resisted. But when we moved back, Kelly went to work for her as a TC. And then Kelly got her license, and my mom kicked her out of the nest and said, "You need to go find a company that's going to train you. I don't have time for you." And so she came to Century 21 Money World in 1996 and started to do well enough for me to make a career change and join her in 2000. So December of 2000 is what is on my license. And so 22 years this month, and it's just been a joy.
Yeah, well, and you know, the great thing about it, especially if you live in the Bay Area, I mean, a little more expensive there than here, right?
Well, everything's more expensive. It's a beautiful place. I miss a lot about it, except for the taxes, the traffic, and the pricing.
Other than the traffic, the pricing, and don't forget the streets are kind of falling apart now too. It's really, yep. You don't need to go fast in California anymore because the streets won't let you. So the fact there's a lot of traffic doesn't really matter.
That's true.
Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm only serious. No, I love the fact that being from Las Vegas, now I've been here 12 years, that there are so many people coming from California to Las Vegas and one of our other markets, Phoenix. And I think it only makes sense if you think about it. You know, think about it, the cost of living here, taxes, prices, everything is brand new, the roads, the bridges, the schools. It really makes a lot of sense. And if you want to go to the beach, take a 5-hour drive and you're there, right?
Yeah, or an hour and a half plane flight.
Yeah, or even less. Take a flight, right? So good. Yeah, and as an agent, I'm sure you've seen a lot of that migration here too, right?
Totally. As a matter of fact, in some point like 2001, 2002, I bought a domain name about moving to Las Vegas or moving from California to Las Vegas. I can't remember what it was called because I wanted to capitalize on that. We kind of let that slip away. But there's been so many transactions with Californians that sell their house there for a small fortune and come here and buy something bigger for half the price.
Right. Yep. Even though we've had some appreciation, that's still very common. And I think it's going to continue for a while too.
Yeah, I think so. I think buyers were in a little bit of a shock when interest rates went up a few weeks ago or a few months ago. But last week, it seems like our phones were blowing up with people interested in looking at this, buying that, you name it. So I think the shock period is over. They realize that 5% is still a fabulous historical interest rate, and they better buy. If they're going to buy, they better buy now.
Yeah, because it's funny because it's funny you say that because I was just talking with a new agent. He's been in the business for about a year, a little less than a year. You know, he's had a few closings now, and he's got a pipeline, and he's prospecting. He's doing all those things that newer agents do that when they get seasoned like you, they forget to do.
Well, and that's so true.
Right?
We start taking shortcuts.
So he was asking me, he had a great question. So, okay, with all this appreciation and the interest rates, because he's only been in the business less than a year. So all he has seen is interest rates have gone up like 3,000% since the beginning of the year, right? I mean, let's face it. Also, appreciation is climbing all the time. So he asked me a great question. He said, tell me why it's better to own than to rent with all this going on. And I said, okay, so you rent. Well, I should ask you, how would you answer him that, Jeff?
Well, look, when you're renting, you're putting money in, putting equity in somebody else's pocket. For one, you can't deduct interest on a rental like you can on, when you're owning a home. The home is yours, and down the road, that will probably be your biggest investment and biggest source of income when it comes to retire. So there's no downside, especially with rents as high as they are now. It, it's just throwing money away.
Yeah. Yeah, even in a situation where the properties have appreciated a lot, but Vegas isn't done appreciating. Nowhere is done appreciating, right? Even with the appreciation being the way the interest rates. If you look at okay, so I ask them, so what are your buyers going to do? Rent another year? So the only thing you can compare it to is renting, and even with appreciation going up and interest rates going up, it still blows away year over year. Okay, buying blows away renting every single time.
Well, especially with climbing rents,
Yeah,
because your mortgage payment, unless you have an adjustable rate mortgage or refinance or something, it's not going to change that much. Maybe
fixed.
taxes go up a little bit, insurance over time. But if you're renting, I mean, it's every year that rent is going to go up, up, up. And, you know, eventually it's like, okay, I got to get a different house because I can't afford this rent.
Right. Yeah. So it makes no sense. You're absolutely right. Especially, and most people today even are getting fixed rates. I know the adjustable rate has come back, but I think because of the differences, it really makes sense just to go with the fixed rate. Plus, they came down a little bit, and a lot of that rate hike has been baked in prior to the rate increases, and hopefully the Fed smartens up a little bit and doesn't. I mean, you know, it's really crazy. Taking an economy and crippling it is not a way to fight inflation. It's a way to start a recession, which they already did. But now have you heard this? They've redefined what a recession means. There's a new definition now. Have you heard this?
Yeah.
Fortunately, it hasn't got into real estate yet, and it probably won't. They'd have to do a lot of damage for that to happen. But like you said, summer, we had a normal summer here for the first time in like 3 years. And I think it was exaggerated. So a lot of people disappeared, but everybody's back now. Kids are back in school, and the amount of activity has increased a lot, Jeff, hasn't it, in the last week?
Well, I spent all day showing buyers around Green Valley, Anthem, Henderson, and I forgot how exhausting that was.
Yeah.
But two, it was good to see how much inventory is available, and buyers now have choices.
Yeah, that's true. And we had a little of this last year too, but nowhere near as much. What is MLS up to right now for active inventory? Do you know off the top of your head? Single
Last I
families and
saw
condos?
was like 78, 95. I haven't looked.
So it's right around 8,000 ish, right? Right around 8,000.
Yeah,
Yeah, which is pretty good. Which means in Vegas that's almost a 2 month supply of inventory.
yeah, exactly. Which is still low.
Yeah, which is still low, but a lot better than it was in January. So yeah, I think the increased inventory is good for the market, even though it's still in the seller's category as far as the market goes.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, good. So I know that when you started, you did all the other stuff, prospecting, farming, and so forth. But now that you've been doing it for 22 years, give an idea of how you do your business and where it comes from.
Well, really, since the pandemic started, I haven't done any business to speak of with anybody but past clients and past client referrals.
Mm.
So it's been 90% listings the last couple of years. And now I decided I need to get out and work some buyers because my wife Kelly said, we're selling all our past clients' homes. We need to get some new buyers to replenish that pipeline for 5 to 7 years down the road.
Right.
So, so here we are.
You do, right? And selling new people, that's a great way to look at it. Selling new people means they're going to sell in 5 to 7 years statistically. So there's your next listings in the pipeline.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, if you, we had a Cutco guy speak in our office. Sorry if this is a little bit of a topic change. I thought, what is this guy teaching real estate agents how to sell real estate? He sells knives.
Right.
And I started listening to him, and he said something that stuck with me. He said, you've got to love your clients more than your business. And if you do, they will be a source of business and a pipeline for new business forever. And I thought, how profound is that?
Yeah. Yeah, and you guys, that's why you guys have the repeat referral business that you have, because I would say you're the quintessential example of under promising and over delivering. You guys do an incredible job for your clients. That's why they tell everybody and they keep coming back.
Well, that and we set expectations up front on what they can expect. So take a listing. Sign's going to be up tomorrow. Photographer's going to be here on Wednesday. On Thursday or Friday, I'll have flyers by this weekend. It will be in all the social media platforms and other sources of listings: Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, Realtor.com, BHHS, VegasHomeExpert.com. So in the next 4 days, everything will be ramped up. So I mean, just setting proper expectations, living up to those expectations, and doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it.
Big point, yeah. Because they're always listening and they're always watching, and every person you're dealing with thinks you're the only person in their pipeline or that you're working with, right? And if you make them feel that way, then it really, like the Cutco guy said, you will definitely get repeat and referral business. They actually become your extended sales force if you do it right.
Well, he used the term raving fan, which I remember reading a book about a car salesman in probably the early 90s, where his goal was to create raving fans because then they became his marketing.
Right.
And the guy was selling like 1,000 cars a year in Texas just by making sure that he loved his customers more than he loved his business.
Yeah, it's true. And it comes across too. And let's face it, that may be a little bit, over the fiduciary responsibility, but that's a good place to be. You'd rather be over your fiduciary responsibility than under, because, if you have raving fans, that means they tell 3 or 4 people. If you do an incredible job, if you do a terrible job, they tell everybody, so.
Yep. And sometimes when I can't sleep at night, I think, okay, how many transactions have I got from Richard? How many transactions did I get from Carlos? And I just mentally go through. They bought 3 houses. They gave me this person that's bought 4 houses. That person gave me 3 other people that bought 3 other houses, and they sold those. And I mean, I've got trees up to 18 transactions in 20 years, which is 22 years, which is pretty good in my opinion.
Very good. Very good. It's almost, you just only missed 4 years in there of getting somebody from them. Wow. No, that's good. No, and they tell people and they tell people, and that's what this business is all about, right? So how do you guys keep in touch? Like, okay, so you have a database. I would assume, how many clients would you say you have in your database?
Oh, well, actual clients is probably around 600. We've done about almost 1,000 transactions over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Our VAC database is around 1,600. It was 2,200. During the pandemic, I decided to go and weed things out where I didn't have phone numbers or proper emails, etc. So we cleaned that up, and so I send out the Friday buzz to those 1,600 people every other Friday when Ida sends it. We send out Christmas calendars. The Cutco guy says, those tchotchke things like calendars, people just get them and throw them away. I get calls in January saying, hey, we didn't receive our calendar this year. We love that. Please resend it. And have had multiple transactions where people say, I haven't talked to you in 17 years, but I still get your calendar and we love you guys. Can you come and list my house?
Right.
So Kelly also calls on anniversaries. I call on anniversary at least the first year, but if they contact me, I remember them. I bring up something that was personal about them from 10 years ago, 11 years ago, whatever, so that they know that I remember them. And then we take off where we left off. It's like we're just friends doing business.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I would say one of the things, if you guys want to get more business, one of the things is like if you just, what I used to do, because it's funny you say 600, because I had, when I stopped selling real estate full time and went into coaching full time, I had 600 people in there, and I used to just go through it alphabetically, a few times a year. So that could be 7 or 8 calls a day. I'm driving through your neighborhood, Jeff. Haven't seen you in a while. Just was thinking about you. Wanted to say hello, even if you leave a message, right? And you'll definitely increase the amount of business you're getting. But
Yeah,
calling them on the other. Go ahead.
sorry, but we do that sometimes,
Yeah.
and I can tell you that one of my worst regrets was not doing that with a client who had sold and bought. They remodeled the kitchen or the bathroom or something, and she called. This is like 2005. She calls me up and says, "Hey, you got to come by and see what we did." I said, "Yeah, when I'm in the neighborhood, I'll stop by." I never did. She contacted me a few years later because she was going to buy a condo for her daughter who was going to UNLV. That didn't work out. 2 years after that, I get one of my Christmas calendars returned. They sold and moved out of state using somebody else. It's like,
Mm,
yeah, you've got to. Pop buys are a good thing. We don't do it enough. You're right. We could certainly increase our business if we did that, but
yeah.
we try to do it.
Especially since you have a great sense of humor, so you could add something humorous into, like I don't know, whatever. I know the people that I coach, they have ketchup made with, and they replace the ketchup label with their face and say, "I stopped by to catch up on everything with you." Whatever. Some people make it corny,
Yeah.
some people make it fun. I told
Yep.
I told that guy, I said, so when the market goes down, you have to make wine and then just stop by and say, "I stopped by to whine about the market with you. Here you go."
Nice.
Whatever it takes. People
Yeah,
drop by.
exactly.
We could do hockey schedules and now football schedules. Whatever it takes. There's no, bad excuse to stop by and drop off something to your old customers and clients. So I
Yep,
agree with that
I
100%.
agree.
Me, everything's an excuse to prospect, which I love the P word, prospecting.
Exactly.
All right, great. So let's say somebody new is on here, or like the guy I was talking to this morning, or somebody that wants to take their business to the next level. Give them a couple, like, what would be the top 3 pieces of advice you tell them to focus on to really, turn it up on this experience called real estate or selling real
Well,
estate?
both new and experienced people is show up, treat it like a job, work every day like you're hungry and have no food on the table. And you see, I'm not a perfect role model for that because half the time these during the pandemics, like I don't feel like going in today, or I don't feel like working today, and let me go out and pull weeds or trim the bushes or go on a bike ride. But um, again, my wife told me, she said, look, if we're going to retire in a few years, we need to bust butt for the next couple of years, which forced me to take the job seriously and show up. For new people, it's not just show up, but do what you're taught.
Hmm.
I totally believe anybody can make it selling real estate if you show up and you practice what you're taught.
Right.
Eventually you're going to figure it out, and there's people in this business that some of them are great on the phone, some of them are great at door knocking or door dropping or whatever, but show up and do what you're good at, and then step outside the box and try stuff that you're not, because you may have a skill that you're not aware of.
I love it. I love it. So show up and do the things you're supposed to be doing. Okay, so that would be number one. And even on the days you don't feel like it, right? The pandemic was the perfect excuse. And talk about timing. We have a pandemic, and then we go on a run in real estate like we've never had in years, maybe 20 years. So it was the perfect excuse to stay home more because you were still doing a bunch of transactions and running out of your inventory, right?
Exactly. And sometimes you take a listing, it's like, my God, I know this is overpriced, but I'm still going to have to deal with 20 offers on it. And then that sometimes is harder than working a buyer.
Right.
But um, they're your clients and you do what you can for them. So you make the most of it and get them the most money possible.
Right. So that's a good one. So talk about a wake up call, right? So we've gone from that to this, which is really more like a balanced, I would even see seller balanced market, but still a balanced market. So, all right, show up, do what you're supposed to be doing, even on the days you don't feel like it. Give them another one. What's another thing that they could do to really be a success in this business?
Well, for veteran people, one thing that the technology changes, what works changes all the time. But when something stops working that you're doing, go back and revisit what you did 5 years ago, 10 years ago that did work and say, I used to do this. I used to work expires and I used to call them or send letters or send out a package to them or drop a package off to them. And I haven't been doing it. Now there's more expireds. Let me go do that.
I
So
love it.
sometimes things work and sometimes they don't, but keep it in your quiver. And when you need to boost your business, pull it out.
So revisit some old things you used to do that you stopped doing. All right. That's a
Yeah,
good. That's a good one because when you've been doing it for a while, like you guys, you can develop some bad habits, right?
Totally. Listening to the radio this morning, the DJ was talking to one of the people that is on his show about the guy was applying or auditioning for a uh, job in a play at a hotel in Las Vegas. These guys live in Nashville. And they said, dude, you showed up in sweats. It's like you just rolled out of bed. Your hair was a mess. Why don't you dress for success?
Hmm.
Even when you're doing stuff at the radio show, trying to get a corporate job, you don't show them that you're serious. And the guy's like, oh, this is how I am. And they know I am by how I act. But you never get your foot through the door unless you show up, dress professionally, do what you say you're going to do. You're on time, blah, blah, blah.
I agree. Yeah, it's so much when you show up to someone's home who doesn't know you, right? To list their home, or especially if they don't know you, and you're not dressed professionally. I mean, it's really you're starting off in a hole when you could just show up dressed professionally, ready to rock, like on time, which means 5 minutes early. You know,
My very first year, one of my very first listings, um, I forget how I got them. I think it was an office call lead or something. So can you be here an hour? Yeah, and I wasn't wearing a sport coat and tie, so I did a quick CMA. I shot home, got it over to their house, dressed for success, and they said, you're the third agent we talked to today, and the first one that took us serious and dressed like you wanted the job. You're hired.
see that?
Yep, it works.
It works. Yeah, I when I was in San Diego selling, people used to tell me, when I say people, I mean real estate agents, you're overdressed for San Diego. But I took several listings while I was there. Okay, I never had a seller say that to me. But I did hear sellers say things like this: Rick, we're listing with you because the last guy that was here, the appointment we did right before you, he had shorts and flip flops on. You apparently take your job more seriously than he does, so we're going to list with you. And so
Well,
it only makes sense.
well, and not only that, but so growing up here, I've got high school friends and middle school friends and elementary school friends. I'm going on a listing appointment this afternoon with one of those. We went to elementary school together, didn't go to middle school, but did go to high school together, and went to college together, but never really saw her there. And I get dressed up for her. So, she knows me. Our kids played soccer and baseball together, but I'm still getting dressed up because one of the things that I have found with people in your sphere, they may trust your intellect and they may trust your professionalism, but they still want to feel like they are being treated special. And
Yeah,
if you show up in flip flops and shorts with them, it may work. It may not if they're talking to somebody else that is
right.
dressed for success.
Yeah, you don't want them thinking you're taking them for granted by, oh, you just think I'm a lay down, so you showed up in your pajamas, all right, with your SpongeBob slippers. They don't want that. They want the A game.
Yeah, totally, totally. So and people know, oh, Jeff's on a listing appointment because yeah, I got a sport coat. I usually don't wear ties in the summertime, but definitely a button down Oxford shirt and long pants. And in the wintertime, it's a tie. And if I've got that in the office, Jeff They know I'm either meeting with a new client or I'm going on a listing appointment.
Yep. Yeah, it only makes sense because what's the average commission in your office? I think it's around 15,000 a side. So
Yeah,
that's a 30,000. If you're taking a listing, it's a $30,000 conversation because they don't care that you're giving half of it to somebody else or for the buyer agent, right? They just think, oh my God, this is a $30,000. Is Jeff worth $30,000? If the answer is no, they're not going to list with you.
totally, totally. So I mean, I like to think it pays off. And basically, what those people told me in 2001, that I got the job because I came dressed professionally. I don't stop doing that.
Yeah, I even used to ask them. I need your permission to treat you like a client. I know we're buddies and we're friends and we went to school together, but during this transaction, I owe you a fiduciary responsibility, and you're going to get it. So I just need you to know that you're my client in this transaction. Okay?
Yep, and that's a great thing to say. And that I do that.
Yep.
I don't express it to them always. Sometimes I do, and that's a great point.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I find that that's saying two things really too. It's saying I expect that from me, but I also expect it from you because don't expect me to be available at 11 o'clock at night or do this for less money or anything like that. So I think it has two messages built into one.
Yeah, I agree. You're just implanting some things.
Yeah, I even say that with my family, especially my family. Psst. All right. All right. Give him one more. Come on. You can give him one more. I know you can.
One more thing for new agents.
Yeah, or experience going to the next level.
Well, okay, so and you kind of brought this up earlier, and I give credit to my wife Kelly because when I started, I had a sphere, and I had people that used to work for me, but I didn't have any past clients, and a lot of my sphere were either clients of Kelly or my mom.
Uh-huh.
So I'd be in the office, I'd go do my class from 9 to 12, and Kelly would go, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm sitting here waiting for the bus to roll up with buyers and sellers." You need to get out there and get in front of people's faces. You need to go to where I used to work and talk to people. And so I did. Oh, and yes, I got business. And lo and behold, I had a closing last Wednesday from somebody that I worked with in 1999 that I stopped by and saw. So, I mean,
Did you
it
also
works.
say yes, dear? Did you say yes, dear, too, though? Did you say that?
No, I probably, okay. All
Oh,
right.
okay. Yes, dear. No, but I have I have to compliment you because you've mentioned Kelly at least 5 or 6 times and giving her credit for a lot of stuff. So good job there. But it's a team, right? There is no I in
It is a
team.
team. Totally a team. And she does things differently than me. She probably, she shows up better than I do because she's here pretty much from 9:30 or 10 to 5, just about every day. And I'm pretty much out of here working from home at 1 o'clock. But she's dedicated, and her clients love her, and she's taught me a lot.
Yeah, she's all about it, which is great too. You can't have two exact personalities together. You drive each other crazy. Number one. Number two, it's dealing with different personalities too. So,
Yep,
yeah.
yep, I agree.
All right, my man. Well, let's see. We actually went over on time. I apologize. Well, Jeff, I just want to say thank you. Thank you and Kelly for being wonderful agents in the office, number one. And number two, for taking your time out today to be interviewed and share your strength and knowledge with the people out there as to what you do. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, and congratulations to you.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, everybody. We'll do this again on Thursday. And we'll have some more fun then, but maybe not as much as we did with Jeff, but we'll try. All right. Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.